Howdy lads, your boy is back again with game 3 from CanCon. So I'd had in my first two games a 3 and then a 13, so I'm sitting on 16, so not terrific but not awful either. You know, one win, one loss, needing to sort of make up some points basically. But I drew a matchup that I don't really like. So what we've got is Ogres with a Shamanism Master, Great Khan with Kagadai's Legacy, BSB, a big block of Tribesmen with Swiss Stride, 2 units of Tigers, a unit of 8 Merkvets with Halberds and Flaming Standards, so I don't love to see the Flaming Standard, a unit of 6 Merkvets with Pistols, Poison and Accurate, which are always a real problem. I don't know if I just have bad strategies of dealing with them, particularly because I don't have range damage to go back at them, but I always find them very difficult to handle. And then 2 Slave Giants just to sort of solidify his flanks and stuff. So essentially how I was looking at this was I was going, these Merkvets with the Flaming Standard I'm probably going to struggle to go into with the Chariot Star, just because they'll get rid of my special saves completely. If I can combo charge them with the Gortak, I'm probably happy, but don't know how long the Gortaks are going to live, given that the poison pistol mercs are there, and they always, like, I mean, they've only got, what, 12 shots? So that's basically doing 2 poison shots a turn with, I mean, obviously the chance to skew low, but in my experience it seems they more skew high than they skew low. I guess particularly because you always factor in the poison, but then they've essentially got a second round where they can roll 6s because they get their regular wound rolls. But essentially those Merkvets I think are a real problem, particularly because, like, sending, I mean, the Chariots are probably okay, because I've got good enough saves and everything, but sending like a Gortak in, or like the Centaurs can't really fight either of those Merkvet blocks, or the Tribesmen if all the characters go in there. But like even a Gortak going into one of them alone probably dies, because even though he'll strike first, it won't do enough to stop the Merkvets from striking back and probably killing him, I'd imagine. So, I mean, I don't think it's an awful matchup, particularly because he's not that fast, so I can sort of dictate engagement a bit, but I don't see essentially I'll have to, either my opponent would have to make mistakes or I'd have to do good things in order to get combats that I can handle, I think, in general. We're not on it. So this is how we set up. It was counter thrust deployment. My opponent won the roll for sides, maybe? No, I don't think so. Maybe I won the roll for sides, and he, I think actually, I won the roll for sides and chose this side, so I get the hill, and wouldn't have to deal with the water. Mainly because I didn't want to have him being able to sit on the hill and sort of essentially not extend his charge range, but extend the range in which he is reliably getting charges. This is how we deployed. We exchanged, I think he went like dogs and a giant maybe, for what he dropped. I dropped dogs, maybe gargoyles, I don't know. Not sure, but essentially how it lined up was, I'm trying to sort of get this giant in an annoying position with the building, threatening down. Realistically, I don't know if I drop the Gortak, because it seems silly that I would put the Gortak where he's easily chargeable, or easily shootable by the pistol guys, so I'm not really sure what that was. That might have just been like a brain fart, or I might have placed him down for some reason that I can't really figure out. So it's sort of looking like, one, this water could be valuable because these are the flaming Merkvets over here. I guess it sort of makes sense because he wanted the pistols where against the guy that couldn't just run behind the building or run around the other side, and he needs to keep everything within like the general range of this center unit. I guess potentially this could have been a time to maybe use these guys as... No, they lose some inequality attacks. I don't know. Essentially, the proximity of them to the water made them seem more approachable depending on how my opponent moved. I did like the look of this flank, because I'm going to be able to get these centaurs, these dogs probably with shooting, and then those centaurs are going to be in a pretty scary position threatening down that flank. But we'll go on to the first pick. So yeah, what is this? Must be after both my opponent's turn 1 and my turn 1. My Gore-Take is out of shot. He's actually moved back. He took a couple of wounds and he's just sort of... I'm thinking I might just basically try and run away with him from these pistol mercs. My Giant is sitting where he's sort of hiding, basically. My Chariots were chaff turn 1, so I charged them with the Chariot Star, and then I used my chaff to stop him from counter-charging me. Brought my Wildhorns on where they could shoot at these dogs, particularly because they're out of general range and everything. And then my Centaurs are just pressing up aggressively. What I should say as well is this is breakthrough for the objective. So if I can stop these 3 scoring units of his coming through, it's going to be very hard for him to get any of these guys out. What I was worried about was this Giant coming around and hassling my boys. But I tried to basically position so that no matter what he did, I'd be able to charge Centaurs with his Giant. Even if he tried to sort of hide next to Wildhorns or whatever. So rather than leaving them isolated because they can't beat a Giant, I've got a unit that basically definitely can, protecting them. And then if these 3 guys just stay in his deployment zone and I kill one of his units or just stop him from getting across, I've got the objective. So that's sort of what I was looking at this point in the game, where I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to engage any of his blocks, depending on what else happens, but I should, I think, be able to take down one of them, or at least stop him from getting over to my side of the board. From here, basically, I think he's going to charge with all his stuff. We'll probably have a better pitch than this next. Yeah, okay, cool. So this is his Merc-Vets coming up here to defend the wall. His Giant stopping me from threatening down this flank. That might not have been necessary, because I'm not sure if... I mean, I don't know that he had an altogether terrific place to put this Giant otherwise. But I don't think that I'm seeing these guys. So maybe that Giant could have just retreated back to here and maybe take a longer charge or something. As it is, though, I'm pretty... I mean, Giant strikes before me, so even if he kills 5 guys, I think I'm pretty well set to, if not kill that Giant, at least beat it in combat and make it run away. His Giant over here is giving my Giant a flank, and I think this matchup is basically a toss-up, where I've got charge flank, attack before him, but he's going to then have... He's strength 6 rather than strength 5, but he does need to roll the hit. But he will have more attacks because I'll do some wounds to him. So it seems pretty close to me, particularly because I'm not breaking his steadfast. But I figured if I charge my Giant in here, a decent chance that I tie that up. And at least wounded enough probably that it's going to get killed by whatever it charges over here, I think. Particularly because assuming my Mongrels still have their strength 4 banner if they get charged by him. Pretty sure his Merc-Vets kill my Gore-Take in this shooting phase. I'm pretty sure he's not there. So what happened here, basically, I might go back. So because of the chaff positioning and his Merc-Vet charge, basically he's sitting in the water. I had a reroll off this hill and it was pretty doable. I charged him into the Merc-Vets and he basically decided that he had to flee. So... because otherwise I'm going in here, I'm in a really annoying position for him. He's not even steadfast in the water. So he essentially made the decision of, I have to flee with those guys, and I have to bring you into fighting my Merc-Vets. Which makes sense to me. Basically, this water actually became pretty important for the game because of what it was doing to his Flaming Banner and his Steadfast. So what essentially happened instead was they redirected into his tribesman star, the Loaf, and the Gortak also tried for it. I think the Gortak needed a 7, but he failed. So how we basically line up is, how did that? Oh, I charged those guys away with my Wildhorns. So this might be before they did their failed charge potentially, because I think I forgot about it until like Magic or something. But so they charged them away, which sent them over there, which essentially what it meant was that if this combat takes a while, I won't have them threatening down my flank for one. And I was figuring if I'm charging this giant, that means that if they're over there, I could get an overrun and just kill those guys. So that's sort of what I was thinking. But potentially it would have been smarter, given that they fled. I might have declared the Gortak. I don't know when they fled. Both my guys might have declared at that time, so... well, I didn't want them... Yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Well, actually, because I didn't want them really rallying. If they rallied here, they're threatening these guys, and my centaurs can't deal with them. So that was probably more my thinking. If I just get them out of there, I've pretty reliably got 3 units in his objective at that point. So getting them out over there, even if they do survive, is like they're away from anything that matters. And then I just pushed up the Mongrels because I knew that I wasn't going to break the Loaf in a turn, and I didn't want those Merc-Vets coming into the side, but I was out of chaff. So, you know, if I chuck him there, if he charges me, he'll do a lot of wounds, but I'll be striking first. So there's actually maybe a chance that I win that combat, but I should at least be steadfast at the end of that one. So I should be able to hold him up for a little while and give me time to deal with all these characters in here with my unit. So essentially what's going to happen here, I don't know what the next pitch is showing, but so this is after these guys have rallied, after I've dealt with the giant. My Wildhorns have just sort of moved away. And this is actually after, I guess, I've charged his tribesmen. We had 2 rounds of combat there, and then I've gotten the Gortak into support. Once I got the Gortak into support, it was basically like the time was up for the tribesmen. But pretty much how that combat went was I was denying him some attacks because he had a full character frontage. So I was like accepting a challenge with the guy who was going to give him the fewest attacks. And I was just sort of slowly beating down on characters. Because particularly with the buffs that I had, I think I got up, at least in the first round, I got up both regen and stone skin. So pretty much from there it was like I can win any of these one-on-one matchups with your characters, and your unit can't do enough wounds, so it's just sort of balancing out the fact that he's got 3 ranks and 2 banners, and he's doing more than 5 more wounds than him, which, because the magic phase really came through, wasn't really a problem. And then once I got the Gortak in, it was like, he's going to do enough damage to actually start wiping through you. Which meant that I think in this round, maybe in the next round, that unit's basically going to break. These guys... His giant actually killed my giant. Rolled really well in that sort of coin flip combat. And then essentially what's going to happen here is these Merc-Vets are going to team up and just obliterate the Mongrels. I don't think the giant even got to strike. And all 40 Mongrels were already dead. So that's then how it ended up. That's after I have... So after I killed the tribesman, the poison pistol Merc-Vets actually fled, so that's why they're in that position. And this is after his movements, when I've basically just turned around so that I can threaten these things facing that way. I don't know if there's another picture here, but what is basically going to happen is I'm going to charge the Chariots and the Gortak into his Merc-Vets, the reason basically being... even though they've got the flaming banner, when I can get both of those guys in, I'm a lot more comfortable with that combat. And I'll just, I'll beat them, but I didn't catch them, or I didn't pursue because I didn't want the giant in my flank, I think was the thing. Yeah, okay, so we don't have any more pictures, but basically that's what happened. I ended up having to reform. Because, yeah, the giant at this point maybe has 10 attacks, So I don't, particularly because I've got, that's my wizard. So he would have had to touch my BSB and my Beast Lord. After the combat, my Beast Lord maybe only had 1 or 2 wounds left. And he'd strike before him, and I was just sort of worried, charge, flank, big flank. He's up by 3 to start. I got a BSB, but he could easily kill. He could easily kill enough of my characters that I don't beat him in combat. Basically, is like if I don't kill him, I'm in trouble. What ended up happening there basically was that these Merc-Vets never rallied. So they ended up over here giving me half points, but his giant came in and just sniped out my general. Then I killed the giant. So overall, game went pretty well. I think there were 2 pretty major factors. I'm going to go back to the deployment. The fact that it was counter thrust and you had to deploy a few things first. Oftentimes I find, this probably doesn't happen for the very, very best players, but oftentimes I find for myself, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm trying to react to my opponent's deployment a little bit, and you can get yourself in a little bit of a worse spot than you want to be, because it probably would have been better if my opponent had been able to sort of box himself in over here, away from the water entirely, but with how dropping 3 units already works, I think he got himself in a little bit of a hole there, which happens all the time with marching columns as well, where if you can't drop everything at once, where you sort of, you sort of develop a more cohesive plan in your head, I think, more easily with the ones where you can drop everything at once. So that was, I think, a factor here in the fact that this water ended up playing a massive part in the game. If that water basically wasn't there, I think the result in this game is basically probably pretty drawish on points. Maybe a small win to my opponent as I struggle to engage him. And I think I would still be able to win the objective though. So at the end of the result in this game was 16-4 to me, because a big swing I think was my general dying in the last game, in last turn, which was he's worth 800 points with the general bonus. So that was pretty significant. But overall, it's sort of just the dice were good for me. It all just sort of went my way. I think realistically, different map, different deployment. I think this is sort of the best I could do against this list, basically. And I don't think I particularly outplayed my opponent so much as the stars aligned in how everything set up at deployment to give me ways to engage him when otherwise I couldn't. So realistically, I think playing this list multiple times, I doubt I ever get better than a 16, to be honest. But hey, I was pretty happy with that for my 3rd game. Took me to 29 on day 1. Which again, 2 wins, 1 loss. It's that's good, but I'd rather I would have maybe not expected, but I wanted to be on more points at this stage. In terms of, I wanted to be averaging more than 10 per game, and that hasn't happened. So, it is what it is. But I was a little, I don't know, not disheartened. I wasn't unhappy at all. It's just sort of I wasn't meeting my own expectations, I guess. At this stage of the tournament, because I was coming in maybe with loftier hopes than mid-range. I was sitting at mid-range at the moment. But yeah, so we'll see how the next 2 games pan out. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Thanks, guys.